It would seem as though.
Hi, hello, how are you?
Hi.
Hi. We're
And
gonna
I'm not.
What?
Hi.
Oh, me either. I'm doing homework all day.
Welcome to another episode of It Would Seem As Though, the podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and nothing.
Mostly nothing.
Yeah, but today's something.
I mean, we
Some
say that.
something.
We say that
we
every
do say
time.
that, but there will be a lot of nothing and
Yeah.
nonsense. And
Well, because here's why.
You know.
We didn't really have a topic. I came over here 10 minutes ago and said, so what are we talking about?
what is
And you're all
happening
like,
today?
I have a couple things, but
I have
other
a
than
couple
that...
things. We're going to take it off the cuff. We're going to talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about, because that's what we do.
Well, let me tell you, there's enough happening in the world currently that, girl, we could talk for hours.
Well, last episode,
we popped off.
We're going to talk about just some silly ancestry stuff that I had found out.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't get to that at all because we were talking about all the current event stuff.
Yes.
And
Well, specifically-
because it's important.
Specifically LGBTQ,
Yeah.
trans, and drag queens and all
all
that.
the laws that are
Ignorant.
trying to be put into motion to outlaw queer people.
Love it. Anyway.
Yeah. who wouldn't oh, wait, I know who loves that. The right-wing assholes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm Vesta.
I'm Annika.
And we're here in our state-of-the-art dining room.
It's very
Sound
futuristic
studio.
in here. It's like the future.
I know. It smells like the future in here.
It smells like teen spirit. No,
Oh,
your children are
God.
at home, so it doesn't.
No, as a matter of fact, it does not smell like Teen Spirit right now. That is the one thing. I don't understand how teenagers don't know they stink.
Well, and one of my favorite things about your son is that anyone can say, you need to go put on deodorant. And he'll be all, no, I don't. Or he used to at least be like, no, I don't. And I'm like, no, boy, you do. You need to go. Maybe put it all over your body. I don't really care. But you ripe, sweet pea. You ripe. You know? Whatever.
Yeah.
But I know plenty of adults also. I currently, I recently transferred to the mall. And there are people who come into that store that I'm like, the fuck? Like, you decided this was appropriate?
Well, it was like, and I know I've told you the story when I did the show at Reed College. Because when they got us there, they took us around and said, okay, here's where you're going to be getting dressed, and here's where the show is. And it's a little short walk from the dressing room to the, I want to say it was like a cafeteria / theater.
Like
kind
a
of
mess hall.
Kind of,
Yeah.
you know. But we walked in and we're like, cool. Oh, there's a sound system. Here's where we're performing. Excellent. And then we went back to the dressing room and got ready.
Sure.
When we came back, of course, to do the show, it's full of smelly, horrible, entitled, rich white children who are all rebelling because they're, now at college and they're at hippie college, and so they're not wearing deodorant and they're all smoking weed and they're all eating out of the trash can so they're like, I don't need your money. I'm going to drive your Beamer, and I will take your $8 billion that it costs to go to college.
For tuition.
But I don't need your money.
Right.
I'm a rebel.
Yeah, so...
Are you?
That's how I could...
What you are is stinky.
I used to say, you can tell someone goes to Reed College by the fact that they have BO and wear patchouli. Those BO and patchouli, those are like the traditional sense of Reed.
Well, I love you'll see cars like little Beamers with a bumper sticker that says Revolution. Unless you're just talking about the revolution of the tires as you run down the road.
Yes.
You don't know shit about
What
revolution.
are you talking about? Yeah.
And then there's those kids who, what is it called? I know there's a name for it, where they're trying to, where they eat like trash, basically.
Freegans, because it's
Freegan.
free. Well, and often, they don't eat meat or dairy, so they're freegans. They eat what they can eat from the dumpster that isn't animal-based.
Right. And I found out from my husband, because he dated two Reedies, that they have this thing where when you're done with your lunch, instead of like dumping it in the garbage and moving it, you sit it over here on this other table so the idiot children who want to eat free, and whatever.
Well, and listen, I will say something.
And I'm fine with that idea, but it's not, you're not proving anything. If there were kids there who were poor and couldn't eat, sure, that would make sense.
But you only go there if you're super smart on scholarship or you're rich. But I will say something. There are, because we live in capitalist hellscape, that there are plenty of places, including like Sephora's or clothing stores or whatever, but grocery stores that throw away like loaves of bread or like good, fresh things that aren't bad. They just threw it in the dumpster because they had to, right? It's like, for example, it's like Starbucks being like, this is expired, we have to get rid of it. Well, it's not expired. Your standards are just stupid high, you know? So I don't always disagree with it, but if you're just like actually going through people's trash and you're not like, this store just threw out all their artichokes or whatever, fine. But like, if you're just rummaging through trash, it's weird to me. Yeah. And I do get it. Look,
well, and if you're doing it because you're just trying
to protest.
Prove a point of some sort.
Don't stop doing it.
Just knock it off.
Just don't do it.
You're not proving a point to anybody.
You're annoying.
It's like when I always say, when I was young and was acting like a whore, I was rebelling, but then it took me a minute to go, well, who the hell am I rebelling against? I live on my own.
Yeah.
And nobody cares.
No one cares.
You know, so knock it off.
They're like, oh, look, there she is. The other whore in this city.
Big deal.
Yeah, shocking.
No, I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was I going to say to you? I was going to talk... wow, it just flew right out of my head. I was going to talk to you about something that came up yesterday, and then... Well, I'm old, so shit falls out of my brain all the time. Yeah. And I just, I'm going to take a minute to talk about that. One of the fun things about getting older, and by fun I mean terrible, is I literally will be thinking about something, and I'm just about to, like just now, and a word or whatever will fall out of my head. In fact, the other day I was talking to, I guess it was yesterday, I was talking to one of my clients about, Trump and being indicted. Yeah. And... started to say, he already made history by being the first president to be, and the word impeached left my head entirely. And the mid-sentence, I was going to say to be impeached twice, and the word impeached just fell out of my head. It was laying on the floor somewhere, and I couldn't find it.
Help me.
And I was like, oh my God, really? And it's embarrassing. Luckily, it was an older person host, so she's like, oh, no, I get it. Mm-hmm. Happens all the time. Yeah. But names fall out of my head. Sure. Like the other day, I was trying to think of one of my faves, Miss Martha Plimpton. Mm-hmm. Her name fell out of my head. And I'm like, where did Martha go? I love Martha. Why is she not...
Mary Blimp, whatever her name is.
I was like, Keith Carradine's daughter.
That's it.
Yeah.
I love her.
George Plimpton's stepdaughter.
She's in plenty of my favorite things, like The Goonies. She's in Raising...
200 Cigarettes.
200 Cigarettes. She's in Raising Hope. She's in this show called Working Moms. I adore her. She is amazing.
I love Martha.
Me too.
I've always loved Martha. Mm-hmm. I think she's hilarious.
Yep.
Great actress.
Agreed.
Yeah, who... Well, the first time I saw her, of course, like most people, was in The Goonies. Mm-hmm. And she looked like a little boy.
Yeah. Okay. With her giant glasses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love her.
Same.
And if you haven't seen the movie 200 Cigarettes... it is a fun little romp of nonsense that everybody in the world is in. It's really hard to find.
It's very hard to find.
But I watched like Ben and Casey Affleck are in it. Courtney Love,
Christina Ricci.
Oh right, Christina Ricci. I forgot she was in
Dave
it.
Chappelle.
And what's her name? Abby Hoffman.
Okay. Kate Hudson.
Kate Hudson. I think it was one of Kate's first movies.
Probably. She's a child.
Yeah, she's pretty young in that movie.
But literally everybody's in it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Janine Garofalo,
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. It's a super good movie. The plot is very thin. I mean, because it's a story literally
about New Year's Eve.
About all these people on New Year's Eve trying to get to a party.
And all the shenanigans.
And all the shenanigans that happen on the way. And yeah. Yeah, poor Kate Hudson.
I know.
That's all I'm going to say. Poor Kate Hudson in that movie. But, yeah. So, but literally I was trying to think about, because again, Martha's in that movie. And Martha in that movie to me is hilarious. Yes. She's just so funny. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean, because, I have a lot of shows that are light and fluffy and comedy that I adore that make me feel better. And one of them is Raising Hope, and she's the mother.
Right. And Cloris Leachman's the grandma, yeah?
Yes, and let me tell you, that show
fucking
destroys me. It is so good. But yeah, anyway. Our whole topic today is Martha Plimpton.
Right. This topic of today is all the work of Martha Plimpton.
Yep.
If you've not seen her, too bad. Get on that.
Yep. Sorry.
Whatever. Jumping around a little bit, my sister right now is in Ireland with her partner.
Her wife.
Linda and Shauna are in Ireland having fun. Yeah. Walking all over the country. Walking on their legs, flipping their hair. But having a great time in Ireland. And so I texted her and I said, just so you know, our great-grandmother, I meant to say great-great grandmother, was from Ireland. She immigrated here from Ireland.
But are they there right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I couldn't find exactly where she was from in Ireland, because all it said on my little stuff was Ireland Free State, whatever that means. And I was like, I don't know what that means. But then I found where she was from, and I sent it to her, and she goes, I don't know who that is. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's this other grandma, that's her mom. And she was like, I don't know who that is. I was like, oh, okay. And so I gave her the breakdown of, that was our father's great-grandmother and blah, blah, blah. So it was interesting to me that she said she knows all about the lineage on her mom's side, but virtually nothing about her dad's side.
Okay.
So our dad, because we have the same dad, different mom. I loved her mom. Her mom was super cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, she was super cool to me. Whether or not she was a great mom, that's not for me to decide. I wasn't there for that. She was really always good to me. So what more do I need? She was nicer to me than my own father. So, hey.
We love her.
So we love her. Well, and I have a funny story about one of the times I went. My father lived in Reno. Have I told this story on here about going to his bar?
The swinger bar?
Yeah.
I don't think you have. Maybe, but I love it. So
Okay.
tell it again.
Well, so I was like in Reno and was like, oh, I should go see my father before I go out of town. And so I hopped in a taxi like you used to do, and said, take me to Peyton Place, which was the name of his bar. And the taxi driver gives me kind of this look, and I'm like, what? I'm going to... Yes, it's early to go to a bar, but it's Reno, for Christ's sakes. People are drinking 24/7. Whatever.
Right.
They're walking down the streets with their cocktails in hand, so blah.
No big deal.
So I get there, and my father's not there, but Becky, my stepmom, is there. And we sit and we chit-chat, and I noticed that there are all these panties hanging from the ceiling.
Gross.
And I said, what's with the panties?
Por qué?
And she said, I'm going to make up names because I don't know anybody's name. Bob the bartender. Not to be confused with Bob the drag queen. That's Bob the bartender's collection. He likes to, get panties from random girls here. And I'm like, okay. And, it's even better if he can take them off with his teeth. And I'm like,
I'm leaving.
And then I noticed that on the other side of the bar, there were some men's underpants hanging from the ceiling. I was like, does Bob go kind of both ways here, or what's happening? Oh, no, that's Shorty's. And she likes to collect them. Okay. And then she says to me, well, you know what kind of bar this is, don't you? And I'm like, the kind where you drink?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it's a swinger bar.
I gotta go.
Oh, no. Then the look from the cab driver made perfect sense. Yep. I was like, okay.
You
gotcha.
connected those
and then
dots.
she says to me, well, you know what a swinger bar is, don't you? And I was like, indeed I do, but maybe. Is there a different definition I don't know?
Do you guys have like a bunch of swings?
Like, swings that come out the ceiling somewhere and then you do acrobatics? And no, it was the original meaning. And so I was like, okay. Well... But, your father and I, every once in a while, we like to add another... Nope. I don't need to hear if y'all are swingers, too. No. It's none of my business. Ugh. I'm not going to yuck your yum, but I don't want to hear about it either.
I will. Ew. Gross.
Anyway, the other story I was going to tell is a little quick story about Becky, who is Linda's mom. When she had a series of strokes, and... her brain was having trouble finding words also, but it would replace them with words that didn't belong there.
Sure.
Like, she called every male person grandpa.
I love that.
So when my son was little, we were out there visiting, and she kept calling him grandpa, and he was like 3.
I love that.
And he thought it was hilarious.
That's so cute.
That some lady kept calling him grandpa. He loved it. He thought it was very funny. And so he has very, very fond memories of her.
Yeah.
But, she would say things like, oh, yeah, the other day when we went to the aquarium. No, not the aquarium. The aquarium. And I'm like, oh my God. To be trapped kind of inside your mind with only the wrong words in there with you, I could only be super frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's
so
like
I get frustrated that the words just fall out of my head, but at least I'm not replacing them with the wrong words.
Yeah. Right.
Which maybe I should just start saying words that don't make any kind of sense.
I'll have to learn a new language.
Right. Yeah, well, it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm into it.
So, I wanted to mention, because I know we talked about last week a little bit, that local drag legend Darcel died. And what's super cool is that it's gotten press all around the world.
Yeah.
It was written up in the New York Times. It was in one of the big London papers. It's all around the world because she was an icon.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And very sadly, yesterday we lost another drag icon who was from San Francisco, Heclina.
Yeah.
And Heclina's probably, certainly very well known in California and San Francisco specifically, because she's drag legend there. She started doing a show in 1996 called Tranny Shack, which up until her death was still running.
Yeah.
Now, in 2015, she changed the name of it, and it's now just called Mother.
Oh, okay.
Because people were all mad about the word tranny.
Sure.
Whatever, and that's fine. But she was Icelandic. I did not know that, but it makes sense with the name Heclina. She's named after the Icelandic volcano Hekla.
I love that.
And her mother was from Iceland, and she lived in Iceland in the 80s.
Okay.
But she was known for doing theater in San Francisco with Peaches Christ.
Yep.
And she and Peaches were in London to get ready to do another play, which is Mommy Queerest. And Peaches went to get her from her hotel room, and she had passed. And she was 55.
Damn.
That's very young.
Yeah.
And so goodbye. I want to say goodbye to legend.
Yeah.
Heclina. I feel very blessed that I got to see her. Because when we went to see the show, Steel Dragnolias,
Right.
she played one of the roles in it and was hilarious. And we saw her, I think, also in... oh God, which one was it? Troop Beverly Hills with Trixie Mattel.
Yeah.
So I got to see her a couple of times. So I feel good. I love that. And I've seen her on TV and I've seen her in different things. But so just wanted to say
and when I lived in San Francisco, ads for her show and ads about her were everywhere.
Oh yeah,
and Peaches Christ, like everywhere. People knew who they were. And I remember because I was 18, I would go to this bar.
What? It's illegal to go to a bar when you're 18.
Well, when you're 18 feet tall, everyone's like, sure, you look old enough.
Clearly you're old enough.
But one of the bartenders was the gay man who I fucking hated. And he'd be all, do you even know who Peaches Christ is? And I'm all, shut the fuck up, bitch. Like, I was raised by drag queens, you dumb whore. Like, don't you ever speak to me again.
Right. Don't come at me about my knowledge of drag, fools.
Stupid little white boy.
I could drag knowledge you under the table.
Oh, honey. And then some. Yeah.
So, rest in power, Miss Heclina.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Fist up.
Last week, as I mentioned, we were going to talk about some ancestry stuff and got off on political stuff and started talking about that, and that filled our entire time. And as I do every week, I went back and listened to it, and I was like, that was a really good episode. I thought
last week.
Yeah. I mean, I always find it enjoyable. I always laugh at our. For those of you who cannot see, which is all of you. Annika just hit herself in the face with the strings from her coat.
Listen, I'm old.
I know, Granny. Anyway, but I thought it was a really good episode where we talked about some really good stuff, a lot of political stuff. And you were just telling me right before we started recording about some political stuff that you were looking at today.
Well, lots of shit is happening. Because last week we talked about LGBTQIA plus community and all of the laws and legislation that are being pushed to essentially just outlaw queerness and drag. But there's all that school shooting that happened in Tennessee.
Okay.
Yes. That happened. That was the most recent one.
Yes.
And it was like 14 minutes. Like the shooter got in there at 10:13 and within 14 minutes he had shot like 175 rounds or something, right? That's a lot of fucking bullets. But all of the students of Nashville have did a walkout at 10:13 and didn't go back to class. Just sat on the ground and marched the streets with their signs. And I want you to know, I was telling you this beforehand, that I'm a millennial. I was born in 1989. But the generation below me, and even the one after that, as they're getting older and getting to the point where they can vote and they're understanding more and more, they are predominantly very liberal. And this isn't just like the West, the Pacific Northwest or California or whatever. It's like kids from Texas, it's kids from the South, it's kids from the Midwest, basically saying a big fuck you to politics as it stands now. And a lot of them are turning 18, and they're all like, we're voting blue. Like, no matter what, we're voting blue, we're voting blue, we're voting blue. And like, let me tell you, unlike Republicans and the far right, I don't idealize any politician. I don't give a shit.
Right.
I think all politicians should be held accountable, whether you're Republican, Independent, Democrat, what the fuck ever. So I don't kick them all out. You know what I mean? Like, let's start over.
Oh, right. Let's do some cleansing, get rid of all those old ones.
Yes, right?
First of all, I think if you are even my age or older, you do not have a grasp on what's going on in the world.
No.
And the only reason I even have some is because I have young children and you. And so and plus I still work in the real world.
Yeah.
But I think older people, especially those politicians who've been in there 20, 30, 40 years, they need to get the fuck out.
You are detached.
I don't care if you are Republican, Democrat, whatever, get out.
Yeah,
I want 100%. Them all out. All of those old white people.
Yep.
All of them.
Well, and it's like so ignorant to me. And we talked about briefly last week about, this is about like the TikTok ban, how they're trying to ban TikTok from the United States. And how all these old white male politicians who are hardcore Christians and conservatives are all, why every time I open the TikTok app, there's always like dancing children, dancing little girls.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, you shouldn't have said that, right? Because for everyone who knows that the algorithm works, that if you like, share, react, whatever it is, it'll show you more of that. So evidently, these old white men are predators, because all they see is like not naked, dancing children.
That's unheard of, to be old white senators who are predators.
And more and more people are coming out being like, I've done research on domestic violence and child sexual abuse and whatever the case may be. And these are academics and researchers, and they're all, do you know who's never been brought up ever in my research are the queer community and drag queens. It's always cisgender, heterosexual white men. Predominantly. Maybe not always, but predominantly it is. Because they are the predatory ones. And look at even the cases we know about, the foot tapping under the stall, or, you know what I mean? Like, all of the things where these Republicans, these old white men are being all, those queers are corrupting our country. But are they? They aren't. They're just living their truth and having a good time, and you're mad about it.
Well, yes.
And
and that's one of the things you talked about last week is, people being free and being true to themselves and whatever.
Yeah.
It's funny, when I first started going out, I made friends with several people who, this was the early 80s, who were very much into public sexual adventures, which, never my thing, but, whatever, I don't care.
No, do your thing.
And I learned some pretty amazing things about some of the ways that these people, found because this was the early 80s, so being queer was really much more on the hush-hush,
Yeah.
But one of the people who I knew back then, God rest her soul, she would like to have little conquests in the Myron Frank bathroom.
Okay, do your thing.
At Lloyd Center. And the way that happened without getting caught was she would take 2 shopping bags, the big paper ones, and either she or her conquest would stand 1 foot in each shopping bag, so it just looked like
someone was in
there with their bags shopping.
That is smart, girl. Look at that. Innovative.
But, up at Washington Park, there was the Fruit Loop.
Okay.
It was just one little place where people would go and lay in the sun and then go fuck in the bushes and whatever.
Right,
and who cares? The fact of the matter is, that kind of shit's been happening forever.
Cruising. Bitch, cruising is like...
been
around forever. Yeah.
And the problem is that it's queer people doing it. And it's, of course, that stopped, a lot of that behavior stopped, or at least went way down when AIDS became prevalent.
Sure.
But whatever, the fact of the matter is that queer people who are out in the world living their truth and doing their thing bothers other people. Because it's like we said last week, it's like they are not living their truth and they are repressed and are mad that anybody else isn't.
Yep. Yeah.
You
and
know.
it freaks them. I think more so it scares people because people, I don't know if it just makes people uncomfortable because people they can't agree with what they don't understand. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think that more so they're like uncomfortable with the idea of anyone being different than the boxes that society has put out. And you know, I was telling you earlier because I'm taking a class on religion, and it's about sociology of religion. So it's not about like what people believe. The point isn't to say like what you believe is the objective truth of all religion, but it's more so like why and how and like were you brought up in the church, whatever. But a lot of what we are based on in the United States is from like Protestant colonizing ideals. And there's everything. Think about like the work ethic that we have was initially titled like the Protestant ethic, right?
Oh.
Which is now just work ethic.
Sure.
3 meals a day is a colonizer mindset because indigenous people ate when they were hungry and not like here's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So there's all of these ideas that we think are just normal and natural, and they're not.
Yeah.
They're not, because pushing some sort of agenda or some sort of thing and calling it mainstream or natural or true often is not, because most things that are natural would be occurring in nature, and what's occurring in nature is that animals eat when they're hungry.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It was funny because I was talking to somebody one day, and she was saying, well, you know, I don't do that. That's not normal to do this thing, whatever it was. And I was like, it's not normal for you. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like you can't say because I do this thing, and this is not the example, but it's like I put the toilet paper on the roll so it goes over. Yeah. That's the normal way. Well, normal for you.
Yeah, inconsequential.
I know. It's funny because it's a lot of people have a thing about that over, under, who cares. And I'm on the who cares camp.
I'm on, is there toilet paper?
Right.
Did
you replace the toilet paper?
That's it. Yeah.
Kudos.
Well, and I
because
feel like,
that's what I care about. I care that when I go in the bathroom, there's toilet paper.
Yeah.
Do I care if it's over or under?
No.
I just care that it's there.
Girl, I just feel like people get so hung up on things that are so inconsequential to life. And that, to me, is, you're going to die of, like, hypertension or a stroke, bitch. Like, you are focused on things that are so minute that it doesn't serve you, right? How does the toilet paper, and I know this is a stupid example, over or under, like, how is that affecting your life? It may make you feel a little crazy. Okay, well, take a breath and move the fuck on. You know what I mean?
You remember when I worked with that asshole buddy?
Oh, don't I?
Well, he would say things like, are y'all just trying to, did he say gaslight? To gaslight him, or whatever, because of how we would put the roll of toilet paper or the roll of paper towels. And it was like, yeah, we're specifically fucking with you and trying to, because, you know, nobody else even thinks about it because we don't care.
Yeah.
And so to be like, yeah, we're coming for you with this toilet paper.
Leave it to a white man to be like, you're doing this to ruin my life. And you're like, you clearly have no other real issues in your life if that's all you can focus on. You know?
It's funny. I remember that, because, you know, y'all know I'm a hairdresser.
No.
But when he would have clients say, you know, I'm really sorry, I'm not going to be able to come to you for a while because of finances or whatever. He would get all pissy and be like, you know, do they not care that I can't pay my bills? And blah, blah, blah. I was like, no. Gosh. No, as a matter of fact, they don't, because they can't pay their bills.
Yeah.
And so you're a luxury.
Yeah.
You know, that's like, whenever the money would get tight, I would be like, okay, well, I can't do my nails now.
Yeah.
Because that's a luxury. I can't do this other thing. But that's how it goes. The luxuries go first.
Yes.
You know, if you are budgeting that way, and that's how I have always done it.
Right.
And it's like, so, but for you to be so arrogant to be like, how can they not be concerned about my life and my bills and because they have their own lives to worry about. You know, if they stand you up and like stiff you on the payment, yes, that's different. But the fact that they tell you, because they don't have to tell you, you know, I'm sorry, my finances have gone south, and so I can't do this right now. Or they say, instead of getting a cut and color, I just need a haircut because I can't afford a color.
Yep.
Well, that's their prerogative. As long as they don't show up, booked for a 2-hour appointment, and then go, well, I'm only going to need a haircut now, or a bang trim or something.
Yeah.
It's like, well, now I have all this time that I can't use. That is messing with my time. But if you call me ahead and say, oh, this is okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I have clients who never returned after the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not going to, why aren't you coming back? I need your money.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Or people who let their hair grow out and realized well, I guess I don't need to get my hair cut every 4 weeks or every
Yeah,
6
yeah,
weeks or get a color at all. I'm going to grow it. You know what? Whatever.
Yeah. Well, and I think that really goes into like the thing of, you know, you never know what anyone's going through, and that's why you should be kind first, right? Like, even if it affects you, you should be kind first. There are people you shouldn't be kind to, like rich white male politicians or politicians in general. But I just think that instead of being like, well, this is how it affects me. Okay, well, take yourself. Quit being so like putting you in the center of all of this. Like, think about what that person's going through.
Yeah.
You don't even know. So instead of just being a cunt about it, maybe just be kind.
Right. Well, and I know for me that sometimes I will come home and talk to my husband and be like, well, I'm kind of bummed because this isn't happening, or I'm, you know, didn't make enough money, or this thing or that thing. But I never ever would say that to a client. It's like, no, okay.
But I mean, and that's the thing, right? You're still allowed to feel how you feel about it, but you're not allowed to take out your aggression on other people, or the fact that you're pissed off, or the fact that you feel like, don't make them feel bad for being already broke. You know what I mean? Or unable. Like, that is a shitty thing to do. And again, I'll say it again. You should be mean to politicians. Yeah. You should all be mean to politicians.
You know, it's funny. We were talking about, you know, finance and stuff. I saw a thing the other day that actually was something that I used to think about a lot. Like, and somebody, it was on, I think it was on Reddit. And I don't go on Reddit because Reddit's so fucking negative. But somebody else was telling me about this thing where people were talking about not, like, if you go out with a group of friends and somebody's like, well, let's just all split the bills, you know, however many ways. Well, if all you had was a glass of water, or you had a drink, and everybody else is having appetizers and food and cocktails, and that's not fair.
No, I hate it.
And so the kind of the overwhelming thing on Reddit was people saying, well, then you shouldn't have gone out with those people.
No.
Or you blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no. I never made a pact with you that because I was going out with you, I was going to help pay for your night.
Exactly.
Unless I said, hey, everything's on me tonight, let's go out.
Sure.
That's different.
Yeah.
But I'm never going to be the person who's like, let's split this bill 6 ways. If it was, you know, one person had almost nothing and somebody else had a full meal.
Exactly.
That's not fair.
No.
That's not right.
No.
Because there are people who it's like, I still want to go out and hang with my friends, because growing up and in my early 20s and 30s, there were lots of times where I was, you know, without funds. And yeah, if it was one of those situations, I'm like, oh, nope, not going. Because if I knew in advance that it was going to be one of those groups, because I did have a couple groups that I'd go out with, they'd be like, well, let's just split the bill. No. No. I had one little thing and y'all had a full meal. It's not the same. I will give you the $5 that this cost.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. If you want to cover my little cocktail, I'll give you the money for that cocktail. Like, that's always fine with me, too. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
like,
even that, you know, it's like, I don't have cocktails. I have, I would go and have a Diet Coke.
Right. But let's say you got, like, a side salad and everyone else ate a full meal. I'd be like, here's the cash money for that. You know what I mean? Or now it's so easy to be like, I'll transfer you money because of Venmo.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's so much easier.
That's how I pay rent. I love it.
It is indeed. But it's like, you know, life has, I think in that way, has gotten easier. But those just, any time that you are, I think, kind of trying to control someone else's finances, you don't know what's involved there. No. So, no, mind your business.
Mind your business.
Yeah.
I'm with it. Girl, I'm with it.
Yeah. So, one of the things I wanted to discuss when we were talking about the ancestry stuff.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, you have to tell me if I'm also related to all these people, because that's important to me.
Is that the most important?
Yeah. I only care about me and me only, and if I'm also famous because of them. You know what I mean?
Well, famous.
Girl, shut your fucking mouth.
Well, what is funny is as I'm saying all these people the other day, because I was on FamilySearch.com. I was like, see who you're related to that's famous. And I was like, okay. Well, the list was quite extensive.
Sure.
But this morning I was doing a little more digging.
Okay.
But what was funny was I was reading the original list, and as I would say people that the kids knew, my daughters all, we're related to Walt Disney? And then it was like, you know, she's expecting that we should get free passes.
We are Disney heiresses.
Right. We should be getting some money. We should. It's like, well, we are what the used to call shirt-tail relation.
I love it. Girl, I'll take all of it.
Yeah. But some of it I found very interesting. What I was not surprised by is how much royalty is in my past.
Sure.
Because I act like I'm,
don't
the
you?
queen of the world.
Oh, don't you that?
And it's like, that makes sense. It's genetics, man.
Yeah.
I have so many kings and queens and prince and princess and dukes and lords and ladies and what have all in my ancestry.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do not come from paupers. Well, that's only happened the last few generations. Somehow, we veered so far away from royalty that we got all the way down to,
we're doing great.
poor people.
Yeah.
We'll build some generational wealth someday,
Yeah,
maybe.
I
don't
get
know.
it.
But, because the first one that has popped up, and I know we talked about that a little bit last week, was Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
And his third great-grandmother and my seventh great-grandmother
Sure.
were sisters.
Okay.
And if you think about that, that's really not that far back.
Right.
I mean, it is, because he died in 1964, I want to say. And he was like almost 100 years old.
Jesus.
So, we're talking it's a couple hundred years back, probably. Yeah. But still, it was interesting.
It is interesting.
But, and they wrote down how we're related, just like what they list, not which side of the family.
Yeah.
But it's back and forth on the Van Patten side and the other side.
Yeah.
So, Pocahontas.
Oh, right.
My 11th great-grandmother and her father were siblings.
Wow.
So she is a first cousin 12 times removed, meaning it's 12 generations back.
Yeah.
But that's fairly close relation.
Yeah.
Because it was like my great-grandmother and her father were siblings. So that's awesome and pretty cool. And I learned some interesting things about Pocahontas. One is Pocahontas was not her name.
Of course not.
And that she was stolen from her people, much like Sacagawea.
Yep.
And married off to a white man.
Yep.
Not as it is in the Disney movie, because none of that is true.
No.
And she didn't have a pair. Wasn't one of her things like
She had a hummingbird and a raccoon.
a hummingbird and a raccoon? I knew it was a bird. I almost said parrot. And I'm like, that's not right. I knew it was a teeny little.
She had a parrot.
Some damn bird. Anyway, but she died super young.
Right.
She, after they gave her a blanket full of smallpox, she died. Rosa Parks, my 10th great-grandfather and her 10th great-grandfather, right? Great-grandmother, is that what I wrote? Great-grandfather were siblings. Wow. So she is a 12th cousin, one time removed.
Okay.
Elvis. Yeah. 8th cousin, one time removed.
Okay.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Okay.
6th cousin, 5 times removed. So what that really means, I don't know, because I didn't go back and look at the ones that I found less interesting. Because Franklin Delano Roosevelt, that's cool and all.
Yeah.
Old white politician.
Sure.
But, who changed the world. He did do some pretty great things in his 42 years as president. But
oh my God.
Walt Disney.
Okay.
Now, there was the one I was like, Walt Disney? I'm related to Walt Disney? I need lifetime free passes to the park.
Right, exactly.
And, I need at least one ride named after me.
That would be great.
As the, unknown cousin,
Could you please?
8th cousin 4 times removed.
Okay.
So really,
Okay, girl, I'm also looking at mine right now and it's insane.
Sean Astin.
Okay.
Goonies fame, wasn't he? Not
yes.
Goonies.
Yes.
Goonies, yes.
Girl.
Goonies and Lord of the Rings fame.
He's in
12th
Stranger
cousin,
Things.
1 time removed.
Okay, look at you.
Jane Austen.
Okay.
Have you read Jane Austen?
Yeah.
Love Jane Austen. 8th cousin, 5 times removed. Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
I was like, what? 11th cousin, 1 time removed. Abe Lincoln.
Okay, look at you.
I know. 7th cousin, 6 times removed. Now, if you understand this 7th cousin, 6 times removed, whatever, good on you.
Girl.
Because I do not. I don't know what it means.
Are you related to Edgar Allan Poe?
What? Yes.
Okay, same.
Yes, I am.
But it's always like, your third cousin, 18 times removed. And I said, perfect.
He's your 42nd cousin, brother's, sister's, nephew's dog.
How am I related to George Harrison and John Lennon?
What?
Yeah, let's see. George Harrison, my 13th cousin, once removed. And then John Lennon is my 11th cousin, twice removed.
Wow.
Girl, I don't know. They British.
Lucille Ball.
Okay.
And I forgot to write hers down. George Washington, fourth cousin, 8 times removed.
Okay.
Which, you know, there would be the point where I was like, oh, there's at least one of the slave owners in my past.
Oh, at least.
At least one.
Mm-hmm.
Susan B. Anthony.
Love it.
So I have family who's on money. Fifth cousin, although she really got screwed with that Susan B. Anthony dollar. They couldn't put her on a full dollar-sized dollar. They put her on that goddamn dollar the size of a quarter.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, and so one of the Queen of England.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at you, girl.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Andrew Jackson. Bitch, I'm going to shoot somebody. I'm related to... He's my 5th cousin. 7 times removed. Oh, man. I wish he would just remove himself from
So
history.
what are you looking at? Are you looking at Family Search?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, girl. A lot of them are, like, very similar to yours,
Yeah.
obviously, because they think white people are all just incestuous.
Well, probably. One of the ones that I had popped up before, and I looked at it more thoroughly last night, was Eleanor of Aquitaine.
Okay.
Now, Eleanor of Aquitaine was a pretty cool lady.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for the Renaissance.
Okay.
But she was Queen of France.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. She was Queen of France, and she is the character who is... they told her life story in the movie The Lion in Winter.
Okay.
Which Katharine Hepburn won an Oscar for playing her.
Okay.
She was born in Belen-Casque, Bordeaux, France.
Okay.
Belen-Castle, Bordeaux, France, right? So, you know, cool beans. She's also talked about, or one of the characters in Shakespeare's life and death of King John.
Okay.
So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
You know. But the fact that I'm going through it this morning of all these people, and some of these names, like Augusta Sophia Ernestina Holstein.
Oh.
So she's the cow princess, I think.
Yeah.
She was Princess of Denmark. Her parents were King Frederick and Queen Sophie, King and Queen of Denmark.
Okay.
So, and that is most definitely on the Van Patten side, because we come from,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
that area.
Those people.
Germany, Denmark, all that kind of place.
Sure.
So, like I said, somebody said, Lord Humphrey Jennings Sr. King Charles VII of France.
Okay.
Lord Richard Hale I, and that's on my mother's side. And Sir John Brown, Lord Mayor of London. So I'm sorry, if you're mayor, isn't that... So he's Lord and Mayor.
He's doing the most.
He was doing the most for an old white man. You know?
Yeah.
Now this one I know you're going to love.
Tell me.
Because it's Wittenkind,
That's not her name.
King of the Saxons.
Oh, I do love that.
And he was King of the Saxons. He was born in 735.
Okay.
And died in 807. So he actually lived a pretty long life for that time period.
I love that.
And he probably had a pretty good life. He was King of the Saxons. For
Okay.
Sophie, Princess of Holstein-Gottorp, I don't know.
Sure.
Johann Albrecht II, Duke of Germany.
I know,
right? It's all the things I just
words.
spit all over the thing. But when
I
you
love
speak
it.
German, it's hard to not spit.
Yeah, I get it. Because I'm fluent in German.
I can count to 10.
I can't.
That's it. I can count to 10. Yeah. What'd you find?
I am related to Princess Diana, bitch.
Wow.
And through my grandfather, Jack. So sorry that you're not related to her, but I'm now the people's princess.
Oh, I see. Because you're related to her, you are her.
Yeah.
So you're dead.
inside, girl. Have been since birth. Yeah, this is really interesting. It is very funny because it's just like, oh, this is your 27th cousin 400 times removed. And I'm like, I don't know what any of that means, but I'll take it. You know?
Well, because...
Am I an heiress, though? That's what I care about.
That's all I need to know. Am I a millionaire heiress or am I a dollar heiress?
Listen, and like a lot of inventors, like Isaac Newton, who came up with like the laws of physics, and other people, Thomas Edison. Cool.
Didn't Isaac Newton invent the cookie?
Get out. I need you to fucking leave. The Wright brothers.
Oh, me too.
Okay, yeah, because that's their grandma.
I love that it said that on mine it just said Orville Wright. I'm like, but not his brother Wilbur.
Oh, mine says both.
But it was funny. Mine only said the one.
Oh,
and I'm like,
sorry.
He had a brother whom I'm assuming is also related to him.
Okay,
as he is his brother.
I'm also related to Mark Twain.
Oh, very nice.
Katharine Hepburn. Look at me go.
How cool. And Katharine Hepburn played my 400th great grandma as Eleanor Hamilton.
Emily Dickinson.
Oh, same.
Bitch. To Emily Dickinson and Edgar Allan Poe. Oh, makes sense now why I'm depressed.
It certainly does. It answers a lot of questions.
Oh, good. Nathaniel Hawthorne. Buffalo Bill. Not the one.
Oh.
Not the one from Silence.
Oh, no, not the one. That would be better, but... when I don't remember if I told you, I think I did, that when we were in Salem, Mass, 400 years ago, when we were visiting friends there, we saw the grave of Nathaniel Hawthorne.
Right. Kudos.
Because isn't he the guy that wrote Scarlet Letter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember trying to read that when I was younger and being like, I don't get it. Help me, I don't understand. Because it was all written in a way that, Right.
But then you saw the movie Easy A,
and then
which broke down the Scarlet Letter for you.
And I want you to know, Easy A is one of my favorite movies.
Because it's hilarious.
It's so good. It's so good. Anyway, so yeah, this is fun.
It was cute. Literally one of the last things I saw Amanda Bynes in. Her last shot at playing a teenager, because by then she was like 30.
I want you to know that I adore her as a little actress. I'm also... Oh.
What?
Oh, I'm actually related. Okay, remember how I'm related to, what's his name? The Aldine person from the Mayflower? Well, I'm related to William Brewster and Mary Brewster, who are also Mayflower passengers. And they're my 12th great-grandmother and grandfather.
Wow.
Gross.
Well, yeah, John and Priscilla Alden. Is that who you're related to?
They're also, something. Oh, and there's someone named Love Brewster. Where's Punky is what I need to know.
That's what I think Love must be Punky's dad.
I'm assuming.
Or mom.
God, okay, so I'm just related to nothing but Mayflower passengers. I'm gonna go lay down and die somewhere.
Well, because
I want to.
You are related directly to all the colonizers.
Pretty much.
Well, what's funny, and as I was kind of talking about this to one of my clients on Saturday, I was saying how, because we're white, that we can trace our family history back to almost the beginning of recorded history.
We can trace back to Jesus.
Right.
So.
And I said, and just in America, I can trace my family all the way back to the first colonizers.
Yes.
And she just looked at me like, what?
Congratulations.
Colonizers.
Well, and what's, because...
Because, people are like, I am proudly I can go to be part of the DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution.
Yeah.
Or there was also the Sons of the... Whatever. It was like, who cares? And I remember my grandmother, my grandma Grace, my father's mother, saying to me when I was young, well, if you ever want to be a part of one of those organizations, we have the goods. We have people who were in the American Revolution. And it was like, cool.
Do I get paid for it? That's all I care about. Basically, just give me money. Me.
I don't care.
Well, and when I first did Ancestry and was able to go back and I have a fourth and from my fourth great grandparents and back on Grandpa Jack's side are Indigenous people, and one of them, and I talk about this all the time because it's evident of I talk about murdered and missing Indigenous women, children, and Two-Spirit people all the time, which is a huge thing. Indigenous people go missing or are murdered at a higher rate than pretty much anybody else, right? And so there is a part of my lineage where this old Scotsman came to the States because he was born in Scotland and came here, and it says married an Indigenous woman, and they had a son together. And he's I don't know, like my third great grandfather. And, but Daddy Scotsman died, so his mother took him away from the white people and went and lived with the tribe again. Which I was like, of course this is happening, right? White men show up and say, that one. You know what I mean? Give me that one. Which is just really sad to me, more than anything, you know?
Well, and that was one of the things as I was flipping through, because you can, you know, if you're on your family tree, so on Family Search, you only have to build the first couple generations, and it'll autofill a lot of it with things that have already been added, things that they know, because again, it's owned by the Mormons, and they have the best records of genealogy. Well, as I was looking today, and I got back to, I was in the 1500s here in America, and it was saying that this particular person, and I don't remember their name, their father was, whatever his name was, who cares, but mother was Indian woman. In 1500, that means they had been here for only a few years because, you know, what was it? When did the Mayflower sail?
I don't fucking know. 14 something?
Yeah.
62 or something like that.
Well,
1492. 1492.
Okay.
Let's say that.
Wait, no, that's when Columbus sailed, right?
Oh, I don't know.
So,
girl, you're asking me questions about white people. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's hard to know because white people and colonizers and who cares? They ruled the world. But anyway, I was like, how sad is that she's just listed as Indian woman?
No, yeah.
Because they didn't know, obviously. And I imagine that, like, your Scottish man in your history, that it was somebody who just was like, oh, look at her. You know.
Look at that squaw.
Yeah.
Well, and what was it? Because on Grandma's side of the family, the indigenous people, their last name was changed to White. Wasn't that right?
Yeah.
Well, on my grandpa's side of the family, they were changed to Savage. So it was like, whatever white person named Savage. That's horrible and upsetting to me, obviously, because what the fuck is wrong with you people?
Well, but if you think about it, that's what they thought of the natives, or the indigenous peoples, you know, that they were savages. It was like they were savages because they didn't cover their bodies from head to toe.
Yeah.
Because they weren't raised in, you know, Protestant, whatever.
Nastiness.
Pilgrim
Puritan nonsense.
Right. You know, where it's like you have to be covered from your chin down to your toes, and if you show a little ankle, you're a tart.
Yep. Yeah, so, I mean, it is really interesting, but, like, it's not that far back, so it's like who is this? So my 5th great-grandmother, her last name was changed to Savage.
Right.
That's upsetting, right?
Yes.
Because she was born in, like, the late 1700s, so that's fucking gross to me. And, like, but what's interesting is her name was Tizane Savage, right? And what's funny is that I have this ancestor. Her name is... She was the one who was married to the boy when his father died. His mom took him back to the tribe. Her full name is... what's her name? Isabel Nancy Hannah Kahitahe, whatever her husband's last name was, like Lucas or whatever it was. Which I was so you took 3 white people names and then kept Kahitahe, which is her indigenous name.
Yes.
Which I'm like, so interesting to me. And then her husband was Thomas H. Udina Lanuzzi, which means walking stick. Lester. How precious. But I was also related to someone named like Hoktohek Lukahe, you know? So they're white.
Clearly.
Uh-huh.
Clearly. One of the people I found in my family tree, and I'm going to probably say their name all wrong.
Can't wait.
So I apologize now. I'm sorry if there's anybody who actually speaks any indigenous language. If, you know, you understand what I'm saying and you know that I'm butchering it, I apologize. And I apologize anyway because I was reading it and I was like, what? So in 1604, this is one of the ones that's directly, you know, like great grandfather.
Yeah.
His name is Sachin Chief Mohawk Kenian Kiha Ka. And so I'm only going to say that once because it was hard enough the first time.
Yeah.
He was born about 1604 in Kanajahori, Montgomery, New York.
Well, half our podcast is going to be you not being able to say words.
Well, right. That is absolutely correct. But when he only lived to be the age of 44, but he had several children, and he was in what was called the Turtle Clan.
That is really cool to know, actually, because knowing your tribe and your clan is very important for indigeneity.
Oh, okay.
Because you can know your tribe, like, so like, I'm gonna break it down real easy, because there's like, everyone knows, like, there's Cherokee, because every white person claims to be Cherokee.
Thinks they're Cherokee, yes.
But Cherokee is just like the main mother group, right? But then underneath it, they have different clans. So they have like, and there are obviously indigenous names for it, but they have like the Wolf Clan, like the Red Potato Clan, the Long Hair Clan, and something else. But your clan kind of denoted like what you did for a living or who your family was more so. So people will be like, oh, well, I'm Cherokee, but they can't bring it down to like what clan they are. So it's just like being like, I'm white without knowing what your ethnicity is. Yeah. Yeah, so that's interesting. That's cool. The Turtle Clan, huh?
Yeah.
Through what side, Grandma?
Yes. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
So basically, we're just related to like every important famous white person and a few indigenous people.
Right. Listen, I'm related to Rosa Parks, so believe it or not,
forgot
I'm
you
related
were
to Rosa Parks.
I forgot you were black. You know, I forgot that part about you.
Listen,
I'm just saying.
I had to come to grips with the fact some years ago that I'm white.
Ugh.
You know.
Gross.
I was real saucy about it too because I was like, well, why?
But why do I have to be?
I know when I did my ancestry DNA, I was like, what in fresh hell is this nonsense?
Right.
I cannot be this white.
Well, girl.
Turns out I am.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm less white than you, which is funny to me because, bitch, I'm Persian.
Well, you're also day-glow white.
Yeah.
So that is funny.
Figure
So,
it
I
out.
mean, I am England and Northern Europe, 53%. That's pretty damn white.
She's white as fuck.
Ireland, 18%.
I'm not Irish at all.
Sweden and Denmark, 9%. Germanic Europe, 9%. Wales, 6%. Scotland, 3%. Norway, 2%.
Jeez.
So it's all whitey, white,
Racist.
white,
Yeah.
white.
Yeah. But that's like the thing, right? DNA testing it gives you percentages.
Yeah.
It varies. It doesn't mean that you don't obviously have relation that is non-white. It
Right.
just, the luck of the draw, girl. You got all them white people.
Well, what's interesting is now they break it down to what you got from which parent, which that's relatively new, I think.
Yeah.
But it's like the biggest chunk of it, which is the England and Northern Europe, is equally from both parents.
Interesting.
Which I thought, pretty close to equal. The next thing that is the biggest portion from my father is Irish. And it's most of the rest of it. Because the Northern Europe is like half.
Yeah.
And then the Irish is almost the full other half, and then a little bits of the rest.
Yeah.
Whereas, except for Norway, which is all on my mother's side. But that's
cool.
just a little slice.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything else is just like...
Whereas
on my father's side, Northern England or Northern Europe and Ireland, mostly.
Interesting. I'm predominantly Scottish. That's like my biggest part. And Norwegian.
Oh.
Look at me, Scandinavian, Celtic girl.
Well, that explains the pallor.
And the green eyes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because that's very Scottish-Irish, you know? But...
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I know. The more you know.
The more you know, and the more that I know...
I want you to know that these people probably don't give a shit about any of this.
No.
They're like me,
not.
white
I'm
people.
sure they're like, why are you talking about all this stuff? Well, because we found it interesting. Whether or not you did, that is a whole other story.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Go fuck yourself.
If you found it all boring, then send us a thing saying we don't give a fuck about your...
And I'll keep talking
DNA,
about it.
And we'll talk about whatever the fuck we want anyway. Yeah. And you're free to, shut it off at any point during the show. That's the lovely thing about free speech. You don't have to listen to it.
No.
You don't have
and
to.
I can say whatever I want.
And if you hate it, you don't have to tell us you hate it. But if you want to, we don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
People have said worse things to me.
Oh, God.
And they were better people than you.
Wow. Don't insult our listeners.
Is that not what I do regularly? I call them whores when we sign off.
That is true.
You know.
That is very true. And speaking of signing off, we're about
Are you
to
serious?
do that. Yeah.
We just talked about like ancestry and a little bit of something
A
else.
little bit of politics, a lot of ancestry.
Love it.
And that you're basically Princess Diana.
Oh, definitely. I am.
So
I'm the people's princess.
It does say princess right on you where it was tattooed on you.
Yeah.
So
And that was
it
there
must
since
be-
birth, so it makes sense.
So it's a birthmark. A crown and the word princess are a birthmark on your leg.
Yeah, my birthmark is a tattoo. It's weird. Don't
It is
don't
weird.
question it. Jesus works in mysterious ways.
Yes. And on that note,
Bye.
we're going to start wrapping up things here. And if you want to call us and complain, don't call us.
Don't call me.
Calling young people is a hate crime, I found out. So you text everyone, you call no one, unless
Like-
it's an emergency.
Unlike that Blondie song, don't call
Don't
me.
call me.
No, don't do it. I
Don't
don't want
text
it.
me.
Mhm.
In fact, once I learned about texting, I was like, oh God, please only text me.
Yeah. After
Yeah.
you were done using your abacus. To...
Yeah. Well, yes.
Yeah. We're good at life. All right, sign us
Right.
off.
So
I promise you.
anyway, it would seem as though at gmail.com and we're here every week.
Yeah, tell
We
me
record-
tell me what's interesting in your ancestry. I would love
Yeah.
that.
We would love to hear that.
Yeah.
Because we love all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, until next week, toodaloo, motherfuckers!
Bye, bitches.
It would seem as though